Hey liquid jellies, what's up? And welcome back to my review of the 1995 Mr. Olympia. Here we have the top 6 Posedown and the finals. Footage is courtesy of chriscormier.tv. Check out his Instagram. I grabbed the clips without asking exactly for permission, but I think he will understand. I mean, I'm not harming anybody, and if he wants to copyright strike this video, I'm fine with it. I'm fine. I just want to review it and see what this contest has to offer. As you all know from the third part of this video, which is the analysis of the scorecards, you all know that Shawn was actually ahead in the muscularity round. Even so, the one thing certain is that Nasser got ahead in this round, and we are here to find out why and how, and if Kevin really deserved to be second against this big Nasser. Remember, he was 270 at this show and looked already pretty darn good in some poses. So let's run through the footage and see what we've got. So we start with the symmetry round, the front relax. You can't really judge anything from this angle, but going from previous contests and memories and seeing all the pics, I'll have Dorian first, Nasser second, Kevin third, and Shawn fourth. And the side relaxed, I'd go with Dorian first, Kevin second, Nasser third, and Shawn fourth. And in the rear relaxed, I'd put Shawn in second place, and Kevin in third, and Nasser in fourth. Look at that Dorian's thickness. By the way, I'd put this 1995 version of Dorian head of Nasser in the front relaxed, mainly because of posture and because he sucks in the stomach and doesn't flex the abs. So it minimizes the waistline, and he also gets to show off more of his lats, which is really good in a pose that emphasizes taper. Plus, he is a little bit more balanced for my taste and way more conditioned than Nasser. So, in this 1995 version, I put Dorian before Nasser. I hope I didn't trigger any fanboy of any kind. So, if you feel triggered, just go to the comment section and tell me how triggered you are. And let's start with the mandatory poses. And yeah, this is all we got. I mean, yeah, Nasser might be winning the pose, but it doesn't say really that much. Front lat spread. We have Alpha Nasser. It's better than no Nasser, by the way, but it's still Alpha Nasser. I'll put Dorian in first. If you watch the video, you already know why. He has the beach ball-like lats, the sucked in midsection, great balance with the calves, the enormous width. He is the widest in the lineup, and by far he's the widest. He also is the one filling out the pose best. He has very diced quads, hard looking. People who saw this contest, like Chris Aceto said, even though Dorian doesn't have the most separated quads, on stage they looked incredible because of the thin skin. They look like rock, really like rock, you know, that granite hardness. Kevin is second. I mean, from this angle I can see Nasser, so I'd put him in second. Chris Cormier in third place, and Shawn maybe fourth, but poor Vince Taylor is getting ripped off big time because he is turning to the side. I think he would beat Shawn in the front lat spread. I mean, Shawn is always being dog shit. Yes, he has decently filled out lats, but his shoulders are so narrow and don't look that much wider than the waist, even though he has a small waist, and we know it from the front double biceps. And he has nice quads, but they look like sausages compared to those tiny toothpick calves. He has the worst calves in the lineup, by far. He is battling with Chris Cormier, but Chris's look thicker and have a bigger, more proportionate diameter compared to the quad. So Shawn has to be fighting for the last place in this pose, but not everything is set in stone now. And the side chest. Don't you love it when you can't see shit? I can't judge any, so I'm not wasting my time judging that. I'll go directly to the back poses. One leg back, showing the calf for the back double biceps, and right there. We couldn't see this pose in prejudging, but right now look at that. Dorian's back is way thicker than Shawn's. Way more detailed, we can clearly see better separation in the traps, rhomboids, and the lower back especially. Look at the Christmas tree, really evident. He also has dwarfing raised shoulders, and his arms don't look that bad from this angle. The color of the background kinda distracts me, so I can't really judge that. He also destroys Ray in the calf department. In the hamstrings, maybe Shawn has a slight edge, but I don't know. Chris Cormier is too soft to be competitive in this pose. Same for Vince Taylor, even though genetically they're better than Kevin. Speaking of Kevin, the only thing really good he has in this pose are his traps, his hamstrings maybe, and the delts, but the arms are not that great. They are big for sure. He says they're 24 inches, but there's no way they don't look that bigger than Dorian's, who had at this contest a 20.5-inch arm. So these aren't 24-inch arms. Sorry, Kevin. He has the thinnest back in the lineup, and I'm not considering Nasser's shit back. And he has the third worst calves, I might say, because it's a battle between him, Ray, and because it's a battle between Kevin, Vince Taylor, and Shawn Ray for worst calves. So he hasn't really that much to offer in this pose. So because of conditioning, the conditioning edge he probably held over Cormier and Taylor, that I would put him in third place, but that's about it. I'm not impressed. Let's pray. Oh, we can see Nasser, but he really isn't a factor in this pose. He has only good arms, that's it. The back lats red. These shoddy angles. I would probably put Kevin in second in this pose. We will see that later. Side triceps. It's a disappointment. The biggest disappointment in my life. Probably. This camera angle. Then they call for the abs and thighs. And look at that. Nothing we can see. I mean, they're just looking at the quads. The cameraman isn't really focusing on the whole pose. Now they call Nasser in, and look at that. He's really confident. He looks really confident. Look at him. He always walks in a front relaxed manner, like a good old roidhead. I shouldn't be talking ill of the dead. I'm not talking ill of Nasser, of course. That's the closest thing we have to a comparison between Dorian and Nasser in the front double bicep. We didn't have that in prejudging, so we use what we have. It's a terrible shot because the cameraman is moving, so quick comparison. Taper, slightly better Dorian, balance, slightly better Nasser. Dorian's quads have that lack of hollow sweep that in this pose actually hurts him. Midsection for midsection, they're pretty similar, and calves for calves, pretty similar, but the difference is in the arms. Dorian's torn bicep next to Nasser's big and full ripped bicep really stands out. Shawn Ray, you could say, is in the mix for winning, but not really. He isn't flexing the quads, but he is in a deficit when it comes to balance. He also is in a deficit for arm size. His arms were good, don't get me wrong, but they weren't as big and powerful as Nasser's. He had the tiniest midsection, that's a good thing, so his taper is maybe even better because of Nasser's rather stupid way of holding the pose with the arms held up too high, which hampers his taper. So again, this might be a Nasser first, Shawn second, Kevin third, and Dorian all up the way to last position. We have a better shot at the Nasser vs. Shawn Ray. So look at how crisp and grainy looks now. Nasser always had that veininess. Maybe he wasn't the hardest looking, but he had the vein factor going for him. In this pose, he holds his midsection completely, so the taper is actually better than Shawn's. He maybe doesn't have the polish of a Shawn Ray, but he surely has a better conditioning. He seems to be way drier than in prejudging, and he also seems to be harder than in prejudging, and Ray seems to be flatter and less conditioned. Even Chris Cormier, for God's sake, could be beating him. He has that lack of tricep sweep that he always had, so the pose isn't the best, but I can put him ahead of Shawn any day of the week, so to speak, in this pose and in this condition, since they have rather similar conditionings. Look at the separation in Shawn's thigh compared to Chris's thigh, the midsections. He doesn't have that taper though. The lats are not yet filled out completely. But after seeing this, I'm going Nasser, Chris, Shawn, Kevin on the order, and Dorian dead last. And the front lat spread. Take my opinion, take what I said in prejudging as gold. But we go to the meat and potatoes of this. Side chest. Everybody on the internet says Dorian's side chest is shit. He is destroying Kevin in this one. Thicker pecs with a bigger ribcage arch. Look at how thin Kevin's pecs look in this pose. Even the delts, they don't look as shapely, round, etc., but they look bigger, harder, more vascular. So it's a great advantage going into the lower body. And look at that. Look at the good hamstring sweep. Kevin has a great hamstring sweep, don't get me wrong, but Dorian has that deep split in the thighs and that hard lizard-like skin downstairs. He also has the bigger calves and the better proportioned thighs overall. So again, the only thing Kevin has on him is more shapeliness, I guess, tricep sweep, and bigger bicep, but Dorian's is peakier. Dorian is also murdering him in the forearm department. Look at that, especially considering the total mass of the forearm. And again, this goes to show how sometimes, even if you don't have the best shape or roundest muscle, sheer size and thickness can make you win a pose that on paper you should never even be competitive in, but Dorian's thickness, conditioning, and overall balance get him ahead of Kevin in this pose, and we see with Nasser here. Now, Nasser, he is turning too much to the front. He looks kind of silly this way. His pecs are the ones that suffer the most. Look at that. They look flat compared to Dorian's thick, otherworldly pec. That looks really thick from this angle. Nasser flexes his abs, which is always a good thing. If you talk about Nasser, I want to see Nasser's abs all day. Now that sounds a bit strange. I don't want to sound too stupid, but as always I do. Nasser's delts look bigger. That's one thing. They also look shapelier than Dorian's. He has also the advantage in the biceps, but the comparative development between forearms and upper arms is in favor of Dorian. Also, his calves don't look that impressive from the side. I don't know why. They look rather thin and disappointing. Look at how Dorian's calf is humongous. Look at that. It looks like a big chunk of meat. And also the hamstrings. Nasser has a good split down there and good separation, but Dorian's look more Dorian's sweep looks more pronounced, and he also has too big of thighs for his calves, which is strange when we talk about Nasser, saying he has too small calves, but that's it. Dorian has the advantage in ribcage arch and pec thickness, which are the main factors in total leg development, and in size. He looks way bigger from this angle than Nasser. Nasser just looks flat as a board. And also in conditioning, Dorian's conditioning looks, even in this rather blurry screenshot, way better. Look at the calves, just as an example, even the thighs, the arms even. Yeah, Nasser has vascularity and decent separation, but Dorian's muscle have just that finished look that other bodybuilders lack. He is exactly how a bodybuilder should be, so like a statue. That's why you say that conditioning kills, because if a bodybuilder, none of us thought that. He also has the edge in conditioning, and it's pretty evident even in this poor footage. Look at the vascularity, the hardness of the legs, the arms, the pecs. Look at how damn hard that pec looks. Even if Nasser has certain advantages in this pose, they are not enough to win over Dorian's. So, if we did a comparison with Kevin, I would put Kevin ahead of Nasser because of the same reasons. He has worse backs. They are similar in the tight region, but Kevin is more conditioned. So overall, Dorian first, Kevin second, Nasser third in this pose. I could judge Shawn Ray. He has good pecs, I'd say, but everything else is pretty strange. He has a flat rib cage, even though he lifts up his chest. He has got big arms, that's sure, and decent calves, but overall, he is not that competitive in this pose. Now, turn to the back. Look at Dorian's glutes. To everybody that says he never had striated glutes, this is a pretty good look at the top four in this pose. This goes to show, even if Dorian gets out-angled brutally by Kevin and Nasser to an extent, and Shawn Ray, he still looks to be the biggest in the back region. He just has too much back to be even compared, as a judge once said about him for the 1994 Olympia. He has also the best calves, the best looking shoulders. Nasser's look strange, maybe because he is trying to evade Dorian's arm in this pose, so he's kind of uncomfortable. But I don't know. He also, because he has that balance between the triads, he has the striations everywhere, the hard look. So he basically owns the vast majority of parts. The arms, Nasser has the best arms from this angle. The peakiness of the bicep really sell it, but they don't look that much bigger than Dorian's, to be honest. They don't. If you don't mind for a second not being biased, they just look bigger and better, but not too much. Again, this is Dorian's good arm, so it has probably a lot to do with that. But talking about real stuff, Dorian is clearly first for the back alone and the calves. Nasser has the best hamstrings and total lower body development in this shot, but his back is way too shallow. No detail separation, lower back thickness. Shawn Ray is very polished. Again, as we saw earlier, he has the second most detailed back in this whole group, the second thickest. He has great conditioned hamstrings. His calves are way too small for his thighs, but that's a whole other story. He has decent arms, decent delts. He has nothing wrong with him in this pose. He just doesn't have the overwhelming size and conditioning of Dorian, nor the big back of Dorian. But he is surely beating a very blurry Nasser and a very thin Kevin. Kevin's back looks superior to Nasser. He generally looks better than what he did in prejudging. He looks to have tightened up, and this also is reflected in the scorecards. He was unanimously second in the whole finals, but he held only 12 points per round in the prejudging, so judges still had some doubts coming out of prejudging. But again, Kevin has good calves, hamstrings, glutes. He has good separation in the back, but the lats are too thin. He has good delts and arms, but it still ain't beating Shawn. Shawn's back is way better than Kevin's, and Kevin's back is way better than Nasser's. So this is it for the back double biceps. And we go to the rear lat spread, and wait till you see it. Look at that Christmas tree. Then we cut to Nasser's back, which is horrid. Nasser and Shawn both kind of dropped the ball at the finals, in my opinion. They looked way better in prejudging, both of them. It's strange that I never saw a side tricep in the whole contest, and this is the best I have for the abs and thighs. Then the cameraman cuts out, so poor Nasser, I can't judge his abs properly. It's a shame. And Shawn is kinda in this transitioning pose. The problem I have with Nasser is he is trying to match Dorian's strengths, which is teardrop, sartorius separation, and calf. Nasser probably has a comparable taper and better abs. Dorian's are kinda malformed. Not malformed, but they are odd looking a bit. So again, I don't know why he does it. He should just flex the quad like a Jay Cutler would and straight up ignore the calf show off, because it highlights the fact that Nasser's teardrop is smaller than Dorian's, and that Nasser has worse sartorius separation and the middle edge just doesn't look as big. So these execution flaws kinda mask his advantage he has in the abs, the advantages should have in the quads, and the overall taper advantage he might have. I don't think in 95 he has kind of a taper advantage. Kevin is doing the side variation, so I can really judge him. It looks great. Abs look great. Legs look really good. Like them. Shawn Ray, he is doing the same error as Nasser, only that his taper is non-existent. And his legs also look way smaller than Dorian's. So again, it would be Dorian first, Nasser second, and Kevin fighting for the third spot with Shawn Ray. So, at the end of the day, Dorian kinda dominated this whole show, and Kevin, if in prejudging it was kinda close in my opinion between him and Nasser, in the finals it's definitely not. Kevin tightened up and Nasser looked kinda blurry. Same for Shawn Ray, they both dropped the ball. So deserved victory for Dorian. And good showing, really great showing, my favorite show ever. And good lighting, that's one thing that is missing from today's show. If you watched Europa, Spain, the lighting was painful to watch. It really hurt my eyes even. But again, look at Kevin in the pose down. He always tried to match Dorian in his best poses. He's doing the back double, now he's trying to do the rear lat spread. Now he challenges in the most muscular. Ray comes in. And wait till you see it, because there is an important moment in this pose down right now. And the crowd cheers. It's funny because People say Dorian's most muscular sucked, but looking at the footage and the crowd reaction, it really doesn't seem true. Look at here Kevin trying to, again, challenge Dorian in a side chest. We can see a side tricep of Dorian finally. And I just wanted to pause and see it. Look at that, the tricep, how thick the horseshoe is, how big the arm looks, and the delt, the chest, how thick, the midsection, really ripped. And then the lower body, we can see just the hanging hamstring, but that's good enough. We all know how Dorian's legs look, and even this shot is really famous from the finals in abs and thighs. So this concludes the final Posedown. Again, I'll do a part 3 of this video series to talk about the scorecards, because this is fucking half an hour of video to talk about 7 minutes of footage. I'm impressed with myself. And how long did it take me to say just Dorian won with perfect scores and without any trouble from others, and that Nasser was third. Shawn was a bit off, but hey, at least you saw some good footage. Again, thanks to chriscormier.tv. Check out his Instagram. I found a shitload of good stuff on there. Peace. And let's hear the bells ringing in the background. Boom. Bye. Bye bye.